Sense is you really can't go to college, and if you go to college today, I think maybe you might be brainwashed and away from having any common sense. College degree today is not much. They've lowered the standard so much. When I went to college, I had to write my papers out in longhand. I had to type them and do my own corrections and spellings and all of that, syntax. And I wrote several theses and a lot of papers to do that. Now you've got word corrections and everything else. You've got all of this helps. And people don't have 1/10 the education that they had when I was young. That's a shame. In other parts of the world they do. But not here in America, it doesn't seem like. Common sense. Common sense. Let's look at something here that really should make you cry, because David here is not showing common sense. Now I've got common sense written in two different ways there. Common sense and common sense. They're homonyms, but they're not synonyms. Then it was told Joab, "Behold, the king is weeping and mourns for Absalom." What had happened out here is that Absalom had started a revolution against his father and wanted him murdered so he could take over the throne. He raped 10 of his wives right on top of the palace where everybody could see. Bad boy, but his father loved him. Sometimes people waste their love. They waste their love. Some people waste their love for 5 years, sometimes 10, 15, 20 years, sometimes 75 years. People waste their love on somebody that will not love them back. Absalom did not love his father. As far as I can tell, Absalom never loved his father. Absalom was a bad boy from the beginning, as far as I can tell. But the soldiers, we had a war here between Absalom's armies and David's armies. God intervened. God let Absalom get his head stuck in a oak tree and was hanging there, flailing around. And one of Joab's men said, "Over there in the oak tree is Absalom, hanging." Joab said, "Why did you kill him?" He said, "Didn't you hear what his father said? Deal gently with my son Absalom." He said, "He's the enemy." So Joab went over there and threw some spears through him and made sure he was dead. And then verse number 31 in chapter 18, it says, "Behold, the Cushite arrived, and the Cushite said, Lord, let my lord the king receive good news, for the Lord has freed you this day from the hand of those who rose up against you." Then the king said to the Cushite, "It is well with the young man Absalom, not caring about how many soldiers died, how many lives that he caused, but how about my son?" And the Cushite answered, "Let the enemies of my lord the king and all who rise up against you for evil, be as the young man." And the king was deeply moved and went up to the chamber over the gate and wept. And thus he said as he walked, "My son Absalom, Absalom, my son Absalom, would I have died instead of you, O Absalom, my son, my son." They didn't love him. David loved him, but he didn't love him. Wasted the love. Then behold, it was told Joab, "Behold, the king is weeping and mourns for Absalom." And the victory that day was turned into mourning for all the people, for the people heard it said that day, "The king is grieved for his son." Wasted love. Wasted love. Common sense. David was not using common sense, and wasted love. So the people went by stealth in the city that day, as people who are humiliated steal away when they flee in battle. Everybody was humiliated because of this. David should have been rejoicing, even though it was his son. And the king covered his face and cried out with a loud voice, and my son, Absalom, oh Absalom, my son, my son. Then Joab came into the house of the king and said to him, today you have covered with shame the faces of all your servants, who today have saved your life and the lives of your sons and daughters, the lives of your wives and the lives of your concubines, by loving those who hate you and by hating those who love you. For you have shown today that the princes and the servants are nothing to you. For I know this day that if Absalom were alive and all of us were dead today, then you would be pleased. Now therefore, arise, go out, and speak kindly to your servants. For I swear to the Lord, and by the Lord, if you do not go out, surely not a man will pass this night with you. And thus will be worse for you than all the evil that has come upon you from your youth until now. David, you have humiliated the people of Israel. They risked their lives, some of them died for you, and you have humiliated them. No common sense. Wasted love. So the king arose and sat by the gate. And when he told all the people, said, behold, the king is sitting by the gate, then all the people came before the king. Now Israel had fled, each to his tent. And all the people were quarreling throughout all the tribes of Israel, saying, the king delivered us from the hand of our enemies and saved us from the hand of the Philistines, and now he has fled out of the land from Absalom. However, Absalom, whom he anointed over us, has died in battle. Now then, why are you so silent about bringing the king back? Then King David sent to Zadok the priest, and Abiathar the priest, saying, speak to the elders of Judah, saying, why are you the last to bring the king back to his house, since the word of all Israel has come to the king, even to his house? You are my brethren. You are my bone and my flesh. Why then should you be the last to bring back the king? And say to Amasa, are you not my bone and my flesh? May God do so to me, and more also, if you are not, be commander of the army before me continually in the place of Joab. Thus he turned the hearts of the men of Judah as one man, so that they sent word to the king, saying, return you and all your servants. The king then returned and came as far as Jordan. Now remember all the things that we've discussed up until now. And I have included this in my God's eternal purpose through the ages here, this little parenthetical set of lessons, so that you would understand the foundation of Israel, the foundation of the Davidic covenant. Unconditional covenant, unconditional. David, with all of his sin, one of these days will sit on the throne, Epites Gaze, El Haaretz, right in the land that is known as Jerusalem today. He will sit on that throne for 1,000 years and rule on this earth, of course under Christ. The king then returned and came as far as Jordan, and Judah came to Gilgal in order to go to meet the king, to bring the king across the Jordan. Then Shimei, the son of Gera, that is, the Benjamite, who was from Bahurim, hurried and came down with the men of Judah to meet King David. Remember, Shimei now cursed David. and threw rocks at him and humiliated him. Now he is in trouble. Let's see what he does now. And there were 1,000 men of Benjamin with him, and Ziba the servant of the house of Saul, and his 15 sons and his 20 servants with him, and they rushed to the Jordan before the king. Then they kept crossing the ford to bring over the king's household and to do what was good in his sight. And Shimei, the son of Gera, fell down before the king as he was about to cross the Jordan. And he said to the king, "Let not my lord consider me guilty, nor remember what your servant did wrong in the day when my lord the king came out from Jerusalem, so that the king should not take it to heart." He threw him, he followed him, he cursed him in every way he could curse him, throwing rocks at him. For your servant knows that I have sinned. Therefore, behold, I have come today, the first of all the house of Joseph, to go down to meet my lord the king. And Abishai, the son of Zeruiah, asked and said, "Should not Shimei be put to death for this? Because he cursed the Lord's anointed." You know, to curse the king was the same as cursing God to them at that time. David said, "What have I to do with you, O sons of Zeruiah, that you should this day be an adversary to me? Should any man be put to death in Israel today? For do I not know that I am king over Israel today?" And the king said to Shimei, "You shall not die." And thus the king swore to him. Then Mephibosheth, the son of Saul, came down to meet the king, and he had neither cared for his feet, nor trimmed his mustache, nor washed his clothes from the day the king departed until the day that he came home in peace. And it was then, when he came down to Jerusalem to meet the king, that the king said to him, "Why do you not go with me, Mephibosheth? Why did you go with me?" And he answered, "O my lord the king, my servant deceived me. For your servant said, I will saddle a donkey for myself, and I may ride on it and go with the king, but because your servant is lame. Moreover, he has slandered your servant to the Lord, the king, but my lord the king is like the angel of God, therefore do what is good in your sight." Now this is Jonathan's son. "For all my father's household was nothing but dead men before my lord the king, yet you set your servant among those who ate at your own table. What right do I have yet I should complain any more to the king?" So the king said to him, "Why do you still speak your affairs? I have decided, you and Ziba shall divide the land." And Mephibosheth said to the king, "Let him even take it all, since my lord the king has come safely to his own home. Let him have everything." Now, Barzillai the Gileadite, that is, had come down from Regalim, and he went onto Jordan with the king escort him over the Jordan. Now Barzillai was very old, being 80 years old, and he had sustained the king while he stayed in Mahanaim, for he was a very great man. No, he was a very rich man. And the king said to Barzillai, "You cross over with me, and I will sustain you in Jerusalem with me. I'll take care of you." But Barzillai said to the king, "How long have I yet to live, that I should go up with the king to Jerusalem? I am now 80 years old. Can I distinguish between good and bad? Or can your servant taste what I eat or what I drink? Can I hear more the voice of singing men and women? Why then should your servant be an added burden to my lord the king?" A lot of humble people here on. Now, your servant would merely cross over the Jordan with the king. Why should the king compensate with me with this reward? Why? Please let your servant return, that I might die in my own city, near the grave of my father and my mother. However, here is your servant Shemham. Let him cross over with my lord the king, and do for him what you would do, what is good in your sight. And the king answered, Shemham shall cross over with me. I shall do for him what is good in your sight. And whatever you require of me, I will do it for you and for him. And all the people crossed over Jordan, and the king crossed also. The king then kissed Barzillai and blessed him, and he returned to his house. What a story, huh? David was a gracious man. He didn't show common sense in the beginning of this situation, but now he is. Now the king went to Gilgal, and Shimham went over with him, and all the people of Judah, also half the people of Israel, accompanied the king. And behold, all the men of Israel came to the king and said to the king, why had our brothers, the men of Judah, stolen you away? And brought the king and his household and all David's men with him over the Jordan. Then all the men of Judah answered the men of Israel. Now here we have the northern and the southern tribes arguing, because the king is a close relative of us. Why then are you angry about the matter? Have we eaten at all the king's expense? And has anything been taken for us? The men of Israel answered the men of Judah, we have 10 parts in the king, and therefore we also have more claim on David than you. Why then do you treat us with contempt? Was it not our advice first to bring back our king? Yet the words of the men of Judah were harsher than the words of the men of Israel. Now there was a worthless man, happened to be there, whose name was Sheba, a son of Bechari, a Benjamite, and he blew the trumpet and said, we have no portion with David, nor do we have any inheritance in the son of Jesse. Every man to his tent, O Israel. So all the men of Israel withdrew from following David and followed Sheba, the son of Bechari. But the men of Judah remained steadfast to their king from the Jordan even to Jerusalem. Then David came to his house in Jerusalem, and he took the 10 women, his 10 wives, the concubines, his basically uninherited type wives, whom he had left to keep the house, and placed them under guard and provided them with sustenance, but he did not go have sex with them, so that they were shut up until the day of their death, living as widows. You know, so many times in the Bible, women are just nothing but property, aren't they? So many times. Aren't we glad we live in the New Testament times today when women have rights with men? Mm-hmm. Women would have never had any rights except it had been for the New Testament. Then the king said to Amasa, call out the men of Judah for me within 3 days, and be present here yourself. And Amasa went and called out the men of Judah. And he delayed longer than the set time, and he had approached him, or appointed him. And David said to Abishai, now Sheba, the son of Bechari, will do us more harm than Absalom. Take your lord's servants and pursue him, lest he find himself a fortified city and escape from our sight. So Joab went on out after him, along with the Cherethites and the Pelethites and all the mighty men, and they went out from Jerusalem to pursue Sheba, the son of Bechari. And when they were at a large stone which is in Gibeon, Amasa came to meet them, and Joab was dressed in his military attire, and over it was a belt with a sword in its sheath, fastened to his waist, and as he went forward, it fell out, And Joab said to Amasa, "Is well with you, my brother?" And Joab took Amasa by the beard with his right hand to kiss him. And Amasa was not on guard against the sword which was in Joab's hand, to struck him in the belly. And with it poured out his inward parts on the ground. It did not strike him again, and he died. Then Joab and Abishai his brother pursued Sheba, the son of Bichri. There stood by him Joab's young men, and they said, "Whoever favors Joab and whoever is for David, let him follow Joab." Bloody mass, isn't it? But Amasa lay wallowing in his own blood in the middle of the highway. And when the man saw that all the people stood there still, he removed Amasa from the highway into the field and threw a garment over him. And when they saw that, everyone by him stood still. As soon as he removed from the highway, all the men passed on, and Joab to pursue Sheba the son of Bichri. He went through all the tribes of Israel and Abel to Beth Maacah, and all the Bedriites who were gathered together also went with him and after him. And they came and besieged Abel Beth Maacah. And they cast up a mound against the city, and it stood by the rampart. And all the people who were with Joab were wreaking destruction in order to topple the wall. Then a wise woman came out. A wise woman, girl, and called from the city, "Hear, hear, please tell Joab, come here, that I may speak with him." And he approached her, and the woman said, "Are you Joab?" And he answered, "I am." Then she said to him, "Listen to the words of your maidservant." And he answered and said, "I am listening." Then he spoke, saying, "Formerly they used to say that they will surely ask advice of Abel, and this they ended dispute. I am those who are peaceable and faithful in Israel. You are seeking to destroy a city, even a mother in Israel. Why would you swallow up the inheritance of the Lord? Such is not this case, but a man from the hill country of Ephraim, Sheba by the son of Bichri by name, has lifted up his hand against King David. Only hand him over, and I will depart from the city." And the woman said to Joab, "Behold, his head shall be thrown out to you over the wall." We'll cut his head off. He came into this city for protection, but he's betraying all of Israel. Then the woman wisely came to the people, and they cut off the head of Sheba the son of Bichri, and threw it to Joab. And he blew the trumpet, and they were dispersed from among the city, and each to his own tent, and Joab also returned to the king of Jerusalem. Now Joab was over the whole army of Israel. Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada, was over the Cherethites and the Pelethites. And Adoram was over the forced labor, and Jehoshaphat, the son of Ahilud, was the recorder. And Sheba was the scribe, and Zadok the Abiathar the priest. And Ira the Janite was also a priest to David. Now, that's the rest of that story. Common sense, wasted love. Common sense and wasted love. David now was beginning to think again. His heart had overruled his mind. His grief had overruled his common sense. But Joab in this case, Joab was a scoundrel sometimes, but Joab in this case, he absolutely gave David the correct advice. As we go through life, sometimes we have wasted love. Sometimes we don't really honor those that love us, and those that hate us we greatly cater to. That's no way to go. You know it in your life. Wasted love versus common sense. Our Father, we send this message out for your honor and glory. Please use it. Touch your people's lives. Guide them with it. Please forgive me where I fail you. In Jesus' name I pray.